Hello and welcome to this Customer Voice podcast series. I'm your host, Mala Ramakrishnan. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Cuvo. Cuvo is a consumer engagement platform for media products. We're a machine learning platform we built to operationalize customer support and transform consumer engagement by giving a chance for viewers to express themselves live in the app while they're engaging in an experience. With me today, we have Lyall Sumner, who has over 25 years of experience in media and entertainment and in various leadership roles across multiple companies, including his most recent ones as product owner for Horizon TV platform for Liberty Global, and then as the director of the Roku channel at Roku. Lyall, welcome. We're so
Hi,
excited to
thanks
have
for
you.
having me.
Yeah, would you like to introduce yourself quickly beyond what I've said?
Yeah, sure. My name's Lyall Sumner. I currently run my own consulting business. I've been in the media industry, particularly around broadcast, IPTV, cable, and streaming. So I've seen the whole journey from, I guess, linear to where we are now.
Yeah.
I'm very actively engaged and happy to talk about voice of customer with you.
Fabulous. We'd appreciate if you can talk about your passion for transforming the consumer experience in media products.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been doing transforming customers' experiences with media actually for a very long time. When I first arrived in the UK, I was working for a company called Home Choice. If anyone's familiar with that, it's one of the first streaming platforms in the world. We did not know, um, we had to experiment. People didn't know what streaming was. People didn't know what on demand was.
Mhm.
So we were really coming into very different experiences. So that was, that inventive nature that you need, um, you know, breaking new ground was always attractive to me. We got recognized quite, by the industry for that. But we actually really needed to use a lot of, our own imagination, what we thought was going to be useful, and then, detail that based on, customers' usage patterns rather than directly from their feedback. After that, I went to the cable industry. So I was working for Liberty Global, helping to transform what was their legacy television platforms into next gen. So the television experiences we know now in terms of
Mhm.
streaming and all the apps and all those kinds of things that are built into cable companies' television platforms. I really helped to bring up those kind of experiences for large, cable companies that were, I guess, a little bit behind the IPTV platforms. Yeah, most recently I was at Roku. Um, I think one of the big things that everyone's looking at now is how to make money from streaming when subscription rates are starting to slow down.
Right.
It was really interesting being at Roku, particularly around the monetization models that they have. So understanding how to hold consumers and how to monetize once you've built a platform and a group of customers that will stay there and keep them there. So for me, managing and trying to break new ground has always been something that's extremely exciting for me. And obviously we've got AI now, and we're heading into a whole new transformation. So it's really exciting times.
Absolutely. Yeah. So a lot of pressure for monetization, subscription models changing, people moving from linear to streaming. And you're saying there isn't a way to directly get feedback live from viewers. And so there's a lot of guesswork happening for massaging the experiences. Specifically, I'm so interested in your experience at Liberty Global. Would you tell us about your experience sitting in that seat where you actually own the customer experience? Just how many subscribers did you have? What was the scale of the challenges that you were addressing? And, how did you go about it?
Yeah, I mean, Liberty Global is often described as the largest company you've never heard of. Obviously, if you're in the industry, you do know, but
Mhm.
it's not a consumer brand, of course. Um, but it has 85 million fixed and mobile connections. So it's a
Mhm.
very large organization. It's got operations currently in 6 countries. So in the UK with Virgin Media O2, Ireland, Virgin Media, Belgium with Telenet, in here in the Netherlands where I'm sitting today, Vodafone Ziggo, Switzerland and Sunrise, and they also have an operation in UPC Slovakia. But actually, even previously, Liberty Global is a large organization, brings operations in, and it also sells those operations. Some of the operations that it's sold in the past is JTV in Japan, Unity Media in Germany, VTR in Chile, and other UPC brands such as Poland, Czech, and Hungary. So yeah, as you can imagine, working in a large organization like that, and our product team, which is where I worked within Liberty Global for 12 years, we really had to, count for all of those different operations and all of those different needs. And obviously, one of the big challenges for a cable company is actually, tech companies and the advent of streaming and everything else that's hitting that traditional business. So, at a starting point, there's got a large level of competition coming in, so it needs to work out how to compete. Additionally, cable and traditional television networks are actually very highly regulated in each market, and they're regulated differently in each market. And that can have customer benefits, such as improving accessibility for customers, very important. But it also comes with a cost, and especially if those regulations are creating differences in those different markets, it creates decision points that you need to make. And all the streaming platforms are also needing to make those decisions. However, they're just facing a lot less regulation, and that is obviously just going to increase for the streaming platforms. But as a cable business, it's been there for day one, I would say. And obviously in those markets, very different competition going on with their competitive, different landscapes. So trying to build a single product and roll that out across a whole lot of diverse markets can be particularly challenging if those competitors within those markets have very different services and products on offer. That the nature of that basically creates very competing demands onto the product development lifecycle, and the various stakeholders that are involved. Obviously, everyone's got perhaps a different hat on, trying to push agendas, and so making those decisions, making data-led decisions, becomes ever critical in a larger organization where you have opinions and you actually have voice of customer. You have people complaining about certain things and people listening to certain parts of the voice of customer, and then trying to marry that is actually a really big challenge.
Fascinating. Yeah, it seems like a lot of it's a confluence of many different things coming together, like regulators, internal dynamics, external politics. So, what would you summarize as the top three challenges when it comes to customer voice that you feel like is a tipping point for user engagement?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple for me. The top one is actionable data.
Actionable
How,
data.
actionable data. How do I take action that will actually have the greatest impact?
Yeah.
Because you, from a product development standpoint, you're always looking for that. Getting the biggest bang for your buck. But how do I know I'm going to get the biggest bang for my buck? Especially if you're talking about a whole lot of diverse things you can do. You can have a list as long as your arm, and it's a
Yeah.
standard product development challenge. I think is trying to understand and prioritize. However, you can get data in from so many different sources, and if you're trying to take all that data in, really understanding what to do with that is can be difficult. And that goes to my second point. I think the second challenge would be having those multiple sources itself.
Mm-hmm.
How do you give weight to each of those sources,
Yeah.
each of those channels, and then how do you correlate those sources with one of the key sources, which is what the customers are actually doing on your platform or on your service? Are you getting error codes? Are you getting, are they finding dead ends, or are they, purchasing, or what are they doing on the platform? And how does that correlate to what people are saying? I think the final thing is the biggest challenge is really about making customers feel like they're being listened to.
Mm.
I think there's one thing to offer customers the ability to fire off information or fire off complaints. Let's say you can put a survey out, or you can put a form on your your website, and you take that information in. But actually, what the customer also wants, they want to know that you're doing something about it.
Right.
They obviously want to be able to solve a problem that's there and now in many cases, and in some cases, from a product development standpoint, you're not able to immediately resolve that issue. Clearly, something might take deep work, it might take analysis, it might take,
Yeah.
months, if not years, to sometimes solve some issues, depending on the complexity. Um, so, the question is, how does the customer know that you're listening to them? How do
Yeah.
they know that you're taking that feedback, and when you actually solve the problem, that they actually know about it? So I think that that third challenge really is about the consumer having that dialogue, because you want to take them with you on that journey, to make them feel like, oh well, because it is valuable, hugely valuable, that they provide that info,
Yeah.
and you want them to keep doing that, obviously, but they're not going to do it if they feel like it's going through a giant void.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. So it's the data availability of data, the sources of data, and then you're saying the responsiveness to customers and at scale, right? And
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, the one thing I might mention is, if you're all of those sources, for example, you may have your NPS surveys, you might have customer surveys, you might have,
yeah,
what people are saying on social community forums, which might be internal or external. Have your FAQs and, on platform services that may have, communication tools, with customers. And then you've obviously got your customer care, what people are calling up about,
yeah,
or filling in forms or emails, or some people may still write letters, to give you feedback. And that's a whole lot of material, that is, I would say, challenging to, decide, well, what does it mean,
yeah,
that actionable piece. What does it mean to me as a product development person? How do I solve that issue? What are they trying to say? But then, how do I prioritize that? How
yeah,
do I work out, well, which one actually has an effect? Because the customer's going to churn if I don't solve this problem. Or maybe within my, community forum, I have a whole lot of technical people that might be complaining about something that may create a lot of noise and create a lot of activity, but actually, if I solve that problem, it's for a minority. It might not necessarily move the needle in terms of,
absolutely.
keeping more customers on the platform and
Right.
reducing churn, which may be sort of the other KPIs that you'd be going for.
Absolutely right. It's kind of like prioritization of the incoming data for us to be able to analyze the key clusters of issues that need the focus. And that's basically what we do at Cuvo, right? We are continuously monitoring for data within as well as outside the organization from all sources, and our machine learning platform is learning and prioritizing, and then using generative AI at scale, we can automatically respond. We can do ads and content personalization. We can do marketing personalization, product prioritization, right? So, tell us more. What were the tools that you've seen used within these organizations that help transform the consumer experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I was responsible for, uh, collating the voice of customer from all the different, countries,
Right.
um, operations, to then try to formulate, I guess, a more consistent way to take the data in and take those actionable points out. Um, and Yeah, so we actually had quite a diverse range of tools, to do that. And as a starting point, you know, each of those different channels, often had different ways of managing the data, very, very different ways of managing the data. So even within the same organization, it may be that customer care takes in their data and they've got their own systems, but the technical teams have got their own systems, and you're talking about a whole lot of little silos of data points, and you can sort of say, hey, well, what's happening on the web or what's happening here? But actually, none of those systems are sort of, may be connected. So yeah, what I really saw in a large organization like that, you know, Liberty, we had, um, a challenge to, bring that data together and make, you know, bring that, together. And actually, it required quite a lot of manual intervention, is the reality of it. And I think, the having an understanding of the semantic intention of somebody when they're
Hmm.
writing a response. Um, you know, if you sort of do queries, or you did something in the olden days where it was like a little bit more simple, like, okay, is everyone complaining about something crashing? Or um, you may be able to get some very large, data visualizations around, common terms or expressions.
Hmm.
But actually, if you sat down and read, feedback after feedback, which I did with many of the partners, to sort of have a clear understanding of what was happening, it is in that sort of semantic understanding that you really say, oh, okay, now I really get what the point is. I may be asking a question about X, but they're
Mhm.
actually responding about Y,
Right.
and you know, and the driver for Y may be something that is not actually related to the product, but may be related to another part of their experience.
Right.
Um, so, you know, inferring that information, I think in a large organization actually required a lot of manual analysis, and obviously combined with sort of large data analysis. But at the end of the day, if you didn't look at the information, it was actually sometimes challenging to work out what was going on.
Got it. Yeah. Well, now, what about Cuvo? Love your take on it, on our product.
Yeah, so I mean, as I said, I think it's I found you because I thought that you were hitting the nail on the head. I know this problem extremely well,
Right.
um, and I've just been at IBC, and I've seen obviously over the years how AI has been building into especially around Google and other organizations like that, how they've been building their products. But this was the first IBC where everything you touched was AI. Everyone had integrated AI, and if you haven't, you know, I literally don't know if there was anyone at IBC who hadn't integrated AI into their data set. And the what it can offer, is amazing, because the the large data sets that are involved with, and I would say large evolving data sets that you get from customer feedback, it's very, as I already described, really challenging to deal with, really detailed and time consuming to go through. And what
Mhm.
AI can offer there is the ability to, pull out meaning and pull out, do that analysis and learn from that data, a lot more effectively and faster than doing it manually. And I think doing it with traditional analysis, and obviously you're going to need to sort of balance it with having, people that really know how to read the information, and how to, train some of these models. But I think those things are actually key. The other bit is, back to that sort of actionable, taking actionable points out of the data set is, the correlation there. So you're taking, the ability to have AI to correlate the data, correlate the issues that customers are having. Um, and once you start sort of, when you're able to visualize that, I see that Cuvo is doing that quite well, or extremely well, being able to take the data sets in, diverse data sets, and come out with analysis that actually is readable and actionable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it looks like you're doing well and you're on the right track.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that validation. And that's exactly what it is, right? We are trying to zone in on how do you improve the overall consumer experience by just reading data sources and prioritizing issues, and then figuring out actionable responses through chatbots or assistants that can automatically help customer success managers, product prioritization for product managers, but also ad and content personalization so that the consumer becomes at the center of the equation. So thank you so much, Lyall, for your precious time in talking to us today. I really
Oh,
enjoyed
absolute pleasure.
having you. Yeah, I really enjoyed having you in our podcast series and truly appreciate your support of Cuvo.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.